When the showroom got destroyed, it definitely took a hit at what I looked at was the identity of Revival. And then as we've gone along and business has been flowing without having a showroom, I've really realized that our identity is the relationships that we have with our clients.
What's your number one thing about scaling the business or building the brand?
Taking great care of every customer that you have and being able to work and being able to accommodate with clients to establish longevity.
What are the things you want to be known for?
The most important thing across the board is customer service, and the way that we treat people, the way that we ran our ship, our relationships, the impact that we had on everyone's life, people that have worked with us, people that have been part of my team, and people in my life, and everybody else, to my clients and my customers that I'm able to help and able to make their life easier. That's the biggest thing.
Welcome back to Partners and Plugs. My name is Jonathan. Today's guest is Morgan, aka Mo, aka Ace, owner and co-founder of Revival. What started as a private styling operation quickly grew into a curated boutique and client-focused fashion house, officially opening in Milford, Massachusetts in May 2024. Within 3 months of opening, Revival signed its first professional athlete clients. Since then, Morgan has gone on to work directly with NBA and NFL athletes, including Jordan Walsh, Obi Toppin, Miles Battle, Javon Baker, among many others. In November 2025, Revival faced a major setback when a neighboring fire caused severe flooding in his showroom, forcing an unexpected relocation. Despite the disruption, Morgan continued styling and outfitting professional athletes while rebuilding the next chapter of the brand. Now, in the process of relocating Revival, he's preparing for a new showroom launch somewhere in the Boston area for spring-summer of 2026. This episode is going to dive into what it takes to build trust with high-level clients, how Revival scaled so quickly, and what it means to rebuild with intention when circumstances force a reset. Let's get to it. What's good, Super G fam? Partners and Plugs number 4. This is your host, Jonathan, with my friend, longtime friend, Morgan from Revival.
What up?
So let's get right to the beginning. We talked about it a little bit on our drives over when I was talking to you on my phone, but I really liked hearing the story of how you decided to start this business. So give us the whole lowdown.
So Revival started as a shot in the dark to get out of working, a monotonous 9 to 5, something that I had been doing for 10 years of my life. Streetwear and buying sneakers and fashion has been a hobby of mine for a very long time. And when I started Revival, it was a chance to take a leap at doing something that I've always wanted to do. What would childhood Mo love? Be to own a sneaker store, or to own a boutique. So that's been exactly it.
So when you came up with the idea, you're working a job as a barber in Milford.
Correct. Yep.
And was there something like an opportunity presented itself where you said, you know what, this might be the chance to set up my own boutique, or what specifically happened where you knew you had to make a move?
Well, I was having kind of a meaningful conversation with a client of mine in the barbershop, just about my life and where I was going and what was next for me. And shortly after that conversation, he had asked me about getting a pair of sneakers. He wanted a pair of trophy room ones, just to have on display. He was building up a cool little collectible room in his house. So I ended up, sourcing him the sneakers out, and the price that I was able to get them for kind of surprised him. And, we got to talking about it, and, I had a closet full of things that I've been wearing and that I collected for myself along the years. And, our brains kind of got together and we decided, hey, let's put some money together and let's kind of start buying and selling some cool stuff and see what we can do.
So your client became your business partner?
Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't know that. So what was the first thing that you sold in the early days that really made you think, you know what, I could turn this into a real business? You talked about the trophy rooms, but after that you were selling out of your house, or Did you find a space immediately? So tell me about the evolution from that first sale to finding your space.
Right. So yeah, we had been selling in the basement of my business partner, and just trying to establish an online identity and trying to figure out how to sell what we want to sell. It was a little bit different than when I was buying and selling shoes when I was a kid.
Hmm.
So we were trying to get ourselves established in a professional way.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot more competitive now selling online, especially if you're just selling sneakers. But one of the things I've noticed is you're really good with curating looks, and also, having a broad variety of different brands, especially if you're looking on Revival's web store. So let's go a little deeper. So we got into how you started, but let's talk about a hypothetical. If Revival disappeared tomorrow, like, you decided to shut it down, what would you want people to say about what you did differently than everyone else? So how do you try to differentiate, what your brand is about and what you do for your clients than anyone else? So what would they say based on your strategy if you close your doors?
Our customer service, we went above and beyond to make sure that everybody that shopped with Revival not only loved what they got, but felt really good about the price that they paid, and they left out of our doors with a really good feeling. They didn't feel like they got hit over the head, and we tried to treat everybody very, very well, and I think that showed with the way that we were able to scale this brand and the way that we were able to scale this business moving forward.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit more because, since we've been friends a long time, I know how hard it is to develop trust with pro athletes because they're getting marketed to constantly. And they're also very wary because they may come to the NFL or the NBA with their family or friends as their stylists, and they have an opinion specifically on what the athlete should wear, while you're looking at a huge scope of products that are out in the marketplace and seeing what other people are wearing as well. So what's the moment you realize that athlete clients are a totally different game than regular luxury clients? And I know you have some crazy stories about, waiting out in your car and almost being attacked by dogs for athletes. But, when did it become evident that, hey, if we're dealing with athlete clients, it's a completely different game?
It definitely took some trial and error, figuring out what works, and what's going to be the most efficient. But these athlete clients and these high profile clients, when they see it, they like it, they buy it. These products will sell themselves to a lot of these guys. It's just the way that you present it to them and the way that you make these recommendations about certain pieces or certain brands. I can make a recommendation based off of shop performance. Hey, I sold 10 units of these in the last month. I got one left. You might want it, or just putting something new in front of them. Once that trust is established and these guys, they look at me or they look at Revival as a place that they can trust what I'm going to bring them.
Mm-hmm.
These sales become easier and easier, because they trust what you're bringing to the table.
So you're actually calling them or texting them or meeting with them and showing them looks based on previous purchases, or just seeing things that based on what you've sold them would build their wardrobe?
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to personal preference too, and getting to know these guys. And as we build relationships with these players, getting to know their personal taste and their personal style. One guy might like one thing, but if you bring it to another guy, it's not his style at all. So I think it's just getting to know them and being able to see what these guys wear before we meet them is a big indicator to me of what I should be presenting them.
Okay, I'm going to go off the notes for a second. Okay, so you get a new athlete,
Mm-hmm.
and this is fictitious.
Mm-hmm.
NFL player Tom wants to look fly, doesn't have a clue about which brands to wear. And how do you start to build a lookbook, if you will, to kind of get him to see what his options are? Because, in essence, you're creating the vision of how they're going to be interpreted, when they're out in the public. So is there an approach? Do you try to show them different things to see what they like, to then know? Are they brand focused? Are they like, no, I only want this brand, this brand, and this brand? So what's been your experience?
For me, the best thing that's worked so far is, obviously we can look at these guys' pages, and if it's somebody who doesn't wear these,
So pages meaning
their social media accounts,
Instagram, TikTok,
yeah, pictures of them, and we can kind of see what they're wearing and gauge it off that. But if it's someone that doesn't wear this stuff like that, then I guess you'd have to reach out to them and say, hey, Like I'll send you some options for some styles for a going out or for a more formal event, right? And
Mm-hmm.
you send them, hey, there's a baggier, more relaxed fit. Here's a more cleaner, tailored look, and you can send them different styles and different silhouettes, right? And then by that we can go off of brands, right?
Mm-hmm.
We can go, hey, my budget is this much, so I know I need to stay away from certain brands because they're gonna exceed that budget,
Right.
right? So we can go off of the silhouette and off of the style because a certain guy might not like something that's too tight on him,
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna stay away from certain brands, maybe like Tom Ford, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
gonna be a little bit more fitted. Tom Brown a little bit more fitted.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if we go, I want something that's a little bit more baggier, we'll know to look for somewhere else. We'll go look at Loewe, go like a Celine stuff. It's gonna be a little bit more loose fitting, so we
Mm-hmm.
can kind of tailor it off of, I guess, styles and silhouettes.
All right, and then one final question, and then we'll move the interview along. Is it easier to deal with the athlete directly or the stylist who works with the athlete?
I would prefer to work with. Ooh, that's a really good question.
Well, because we at Super G we have relationships with several resellers because we're more of a B2B play, although we have a web store. And I'm always amazed at the back and forth with stylists and athletes until you've built a relationship. But I get the inclination from what I've heard from feedback is you have to really educate the stylist if the athlete's looking for something about why, they should invest in certain pieces. So I was just wondering, do you feel like and I know you have a lot of relationships with NFL players, is it easier once you've had the relationship if the stylist gets involved or harder? Or is it just a separate layer that you have to deal with that slows everything down?
I think it's definitely a separate layer. Once I have a relationship with the athlete, it's easier for me to style them like we spoke about, based off of their personal taste and their style and their comfort and what they feel good in. Versus with a stylist, it's a separate layer of their recommendations of what they like. And some stylists are amazing. I have some stylists that I've worked with that are phenomenal. They send stuff over, and I'm like, this is exceeds my expectations, right? And then revert to the other stylists where it's like, get that out of here.
Mm-hmm.
So I think a lot of it is kind of making sure that the impression that we leave on the players and the stuff that we present to them is gonna blow their mind versus whatever a stylist can send them. Because at the end of the day, we want to take care of it ourselves, right?
So I know that some of the resellers we work with, they create lookbooks for their athletes rather than just send pictures like, you might like this, you might like this. So what have you found is the best strategy to give an athlete specifically as many options as possible? So when they can sit down in between practices, games, off-season stuff, to look at and make decisions about what they want in their wardrobe.
I like to put the entire outfit together for them, fit by fit. That way they see it. We can price it out by outfit. They can see what this outfit will cost them, and we can take it by there. That way it simplifies everything. These guys have very busy schedules, and it makes their life really easy, which is, it's a convenience factor.
Right. Do you have any clients that love shopping that just, send me more, I want to look at everything?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, these guys, they definitely want to see everything. And I have clients too that they're huge consumers, like Revival is just one stop for them. And it's a blessing that they come and shop with us and that they want to see what we're selling.
Right.
But these guys, they have a great eye for fashion.
Yeah.
So, they're going all over the place sourcing products too, which, in turn, honestly makes our life a little bit easier. They know what they want. They know what they're looking for. They have a price in mind, and it just makes business very smooth.
Okay, great. All right, we're going to go to the second section of the Partisan Plugs interview. We're going to talk about what happened back November.
Yep.
November, so just a few months ago. I remember that day because I got a text from you when you sent over pictures. But, Morgan in Milford, where his showroom is, there was a fire next door. So on the way in here, he and I were talking, kind of doing a mock interview. So I want to kind of tell that story because not only was it a really tough day, but for me personally as his friend and business associate, really inspiring because he just took it in stride. A lot of people would have folded and just, called it a day. But the whole time, even when he was, going to seeing what was happening, he was very optimistic. So you are working in your barber shop on the night of the fire. the story you told me is really great. So you're doing a haircut.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell that story because I think it's really amazing because you were kind of like, yeah, this is what happened. And I'm like freaking out.
So the boutique and the barbershop, less than a mile apart on the same street. I'm at the barbershop. It's about 4:30. And
you're giving someone a fade, or
I'm doing a long
hair
time,
extensions.
a childhood friend of mine, longtime client. He comes every week, and you know, it's 4:30 on a Thursday. Rush hour is crazy traffic. Man, there must have been about 4-5 fire trucks that came by in a matter of minutes. And so he said to me, he was like, "Man, he's like, that's like another town's ladder. It's got to be a pretty big fire." So I spun the chair around, and sure enough, it was a couple towns over. So I'm like, damn, something's going on downtown. Seconds later, my phone goes off. The bar, the Turtle Tavern, the bar that's next door to the store, the Turtle Tavern's on fire. You got to get down there. So we rushed out of the barbershop. It was 30 minutes.
Did you finish your haircut, or are you just like, fuck it?
Real fast. Real fast, yeah.
That's a commitment to your clients.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we got out of there as fast as we could. Got down the street. Man, there was smoke around the whole block. Like, it was bad. I mean, you could just smell it from, a mile away. It was a big fire. We got down there. Milford Fire had everything blocked off, and everybody was outside watching, and a lot of people came up to me, and people were already saying sorry and saying sorry for your loss, and already chalking it up as it being gone. And I sat there outside as everything was going down, and we kind of just watched it happen. Milford Fire was phenomenal. They got into our boutique, and although that they did have to extinguish the fire next door from our showroom.
So the fire happened above Turtle Tavern?
Yeah, in the apartment above the bar.
So there was one apartment above, or a bunch of apartments?
There was a bunch of them. There was a pellet stove that was installed that wasn't vented up properly.
Someone in one of the apartments installed a pellet stove, wasn't done properly. They were using it, and the apartment caught on fire, the roof?
So the roof of the apartment caught on fire. And it just so happened that the apartment that the fire started in was parallel to Revival. So the flames were spitting out of the window. Firefighters are fighting to keep the fire at bay. They, drilled holes in our ceilings and flooded out our entire building to prevent the fire from spreading onto our spot.
And they actually came next door, went up the stairs. How'd they get into your showroom?
I have that video I sent you. They fucking booted the door down. So they kick our door down. They didn't even know it was a store. We had it all private. There was no branding or anything on the windows. Firefighters booted the door down. Oh shit, it's a store. So they moved. We had this giant body mirror. They moved that in front of a rack, and they ripped all of the clothes and shoes off of one rack and covered that. And they tried to move everything the best that they could. They fought the fire from our windows. They kicked down our windows.
And they had a hose going right through to the fire.
Right through our boutique, right to the fire. A ladder truck came by and just flooded out from the top. So when we got into the building I think it was around 10:30, 11 at night, man, it was just a waterfall coming down our stairs. Like, it was crazy. The entire building was flooded out. We had stuff scattered all over the ground. It was a mess. It was definitely a mess. But we had no doors on the building, no windows, and we had a couple $100,000 worth of inventory in the showroom at the time.
So could you take it out immediately, or what did you have to do, like insurance-wise?
Yeah, so we had to remove it immediately, just because there was a residential section of the building in the back, and we had no doors, so all of our stuff would have been left open and unattended had we left. So we had no choice. We had to get everything that night. So it took a couple trips. We had some friends. We had some friends come by and help out, and we packed everything up. And overnight, like that, my showroom was empty.
Okay, so looking back today at when all of this happened, is there anything that you think you lost that bothers you the most? Was it the inventory, momentum, identity, the space itself? Because I had been to your space, I don't know, 50 times, maybe more. Beautiful, totally hidden. Mo and his team designed the space to just be super relaxed, very private, really comfortable, a great shopping experience, and it was easy to get to. So when you think about with the fire, because, in my opinion, it was kind of like a blip on the radar. You're like, I had a cold, and, you move on. But as you think back now, Is it the, you know, inventory that was lost, the momentum you had, the identity of the space? Like, what are things you wish you could recapture of the space, the thing you missed the most about, where you were at in your trajectory?
I think that at first it hit me. It it affected the way that I looked at the identity of Revival, right? I looked at it as a store. It was a showroom, and I put so many hours of work into that place and a lot of really long nights trying to figure out how to make that place work. So when the showroom got destroyed, it definitely took a hit at what I looked at was the identity of Revival. And then as we've gone along and business has been flowing without having a showroom, I've really realized that our identity is the relationships that we have with our clients and the name that we built for ourselves this entire time. It doesn't matter if we're in Massachusetts, it doesn't matter if we're in Rhode Island, New Hampshire. We've already built up a name for ourselves. We're able to travel to our clients. We're able to sell to clients across the country and overseas because of the work that we've put in this far. So in a lot of ways, yeah, the showroom was destroyed, and yeah, it's a big change, but in a lot of ways I think that it's also probably the biggest blessing that we could have had, because it's going to allow us to grow it to the right direction and to take some steps forward into where we want to go.
So it's kind of ironic that the name of the business is Revival, and now you're reviving Revival. I'm going to take the quote for that, Tony. So, mark that in my scorecard.
Ironic how that
I came
worked
up with
out,
that,
huh?
Revival for Revival. I can say this unequivocally as I compare Morgan and his team to the 5 other resellers we work with. He's number 1 or number 2 on the same level as resellers in using sales channels, multiple sales channels, to get product out to consumers. So we were talking about this on the way when you were driving and I was driving. But when I look at how you get product out to your customers and reach multiple different sales channels to try to generate revenue, I've never met anyone who kind of has his hands on so many different opportunities. So talk about, what are all the channels that you're looking at, how you get product out into the marketplace outside of your styling with athletes, just to create awareness for Revival. Because you've got the obvious ones. You've got Instagram, TikTok, posting stories, but you're out there, you're everywhere.
As we learn how to sell these products the way that we wanted to sell it and the way that makes the most sense for us, especially now that we don't have a showroom, we don't have a brick and mortar, right? We had to get these products in front of the right people. And through the years, things that were, when Revival started as a little basement shop, we weren't able to sell 10, 20, $30,000 pieces, right? So we had to figure out how to sell that. So we've established marketplaces and we've established a pretty prominent name in offloading products in different marketplaces such as Facebook, Grailed, eBay.
So Facebook groups, Facebook Marketplace?
Yeah, Facebook groups, Facebook forums. I said Grailed, eBay, all different areas, and it's also sending certain products to certain areas. Some of these crazy high-end luxury products aren't going to sell in sneaker groups on Facebook.
Right.
Right. And some of these sneaker groups on Facebook, you won't be able to sell to the high-end luxury clients either.
Right.
So a lot of it kind of had to, I wanted Revival to be able to have a little bit of everything when you walked in there. And especially being in Milford, Mass, there's nothing like that in the area. So I didn't really know what was going to sell.
Uh-huh. So let me ask you, let me interrupt you. So, from the outside looking in, it's like you have your hands in a million different things to generate revenue on a daily basis. Any advice to young resellers that are watching this now about how to develop a strategy, how to develop your sales channels, how to our time and our energy are not renewable. How to run a business for someone just getting into it. What's your advice?
I think the biggest thing is staying true to what you want to do, and don't fall into trends, and don't try to cater to everybody. It's going to be impossible to try to make everybody happy, but try to cater to your audience and the people that you want to sell to. When I started Revival, selling to athletes and selling to high profile clients wasn't really something that I was worried about. It wasn't even really a thought. It just so happened that the trajectory that this went and the places that this went, that, we had phenomenal.
So who was your first athlete?
First athlete was Javon. 3
Javon
months into
Baker.
open, Javon Baker, yeah, 3
for
months
the
into
Patriots.
When he was playing on the Patriots.
When he was
yeah.
playing on the
Yeah.
Patriots. So did he just reach out to you? Did you have a event at a hotel? Like, how did it happen?
So I had followed him on my personal account. I'm a big football fan, big Patriots fan, and so I followed all the rookies that got drafted. And I saw an Instagram post from him, and he had that shit on. He was super fly. So I thought about it, and in my barbering career, I've been able to land some pretty cool clients. Artists and a couple athletes, and all that it was just me targeting them and saying, "Hey, Boston barber, send me a message if you need a haircut." That's all that it was.
Mhm.
Went onto the Revival account, added him, sent him a message, "Hey, come shop with me," and he liked what I had. Coincidentally enough, the size that he needed, I had a number of really great things in his sizes at the time, and that it's ended up working out. He came by the showroom. Some of the pieces that he bought at the showroom that day, he ended up wearing in the tunnel, and I was able to take that momentum and kind of build it forward and start targeting new players and new clients.
Okay. So back to the question I just had. So I'm a 15-year-old reseller selling some sneakers, making got $10,000, $15,000 in the bank. I want to, I see this Partners in Plugs. What's your number one thing about scaling the business or building the brand that you think is most important for a younger person?
Taking great care of every customer that you have, and a lot of this game too is being able to work and being able to accommodate with clients to establish longevity. We want customers to come back to us.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want people leaving out of my doors or ending a deal with me and feeling like they got hit over the head. I would rather both parties feel very comfortable with business and we make a good deal and we have continued business.
Right. You ever do any hotel pop-ups?
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
Wait a minute. So to me, I see those because, several big Instagram accounts have showrooms that they do, mobile showrooms, NFL games, what have you. That stuff terrifies me. I would be like panic stricken. So you've done them. Walk me through like the prep, how you know what to bring, how long you have to set up, how do they go? Is it worth it? I'm sure you've had ones where you did all this work and it was like, why did we do that?
Yeah. Yep. Wins and losses. That's part of the game. And there's definitely been some gambles that I've taken in this where it was worth a shot, and things didn't fall through the way that we wanted them to. And there's been some times where things worked out amazing as well.
So you've done 1, 2?
We've done two now officially, and with a number of like private pop-ups for home.
So I know you've done a couple pop-ups for pro teams. Just give me a high level about worth it, a ton of work. It seems to me like it's a massive undertaking, but what's your opinion?
I think it's a ton of work. It's definitely a ton of work. There's a lot of moving pieces to put this whole thing together. It takes a big network, and it's definitely taken us a team. We've had it work and we've had it not work. It's a risk that I'm willing to take. I would take it again because the reward from that and getting these relationships with these players, it's monumental in establishing longevity and keeping that longevity that we need, where these players keep shopping with us because they met us in person and they felt really great about the products that they got from us.
So mostly football, right?
Yep. So far.
Okay. So before we talk about the future, we've talked a little bit about, what happened in November with the fire. I have to ask this question. What do you do if you have a client, pro athlete or high net worth individual that just has awful taste? Like they want certain things and you're trying not to smile and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe they're looking for this. And coincidentally, I get told I have terrible taste all the time. And I'm like, well, you don't have to wear what I have to wear. But if you have a client asking you for something you just know it's not going to work for them, what do you do? Do you try to guide them away from it? Do you just get them what they want and make them happy?
Man, honesty is key. And
Honesty is key.
yeah, honesty is key. And I try to steer these guys in the right direction. I try to make recommendations. A lot of it with these athletes, things just don't fit them the way that they want it to. They see it modeled, and the model is 6 feet tall and 140 pounds, and these guys are 6 feet tall and 240 pounds.
Right.
So I try to tell them, hey, this might not fit you how you want it to, and then try to steer them, hey, maybe go this way, try this out, and try to make my best recommendations off of that. Politely.
I mean, there's a reason they make sweatpants, right?
That's it. Some things aren't for everybody.
Yeah, I made the big mistake years ago of being in a Tom Brown store and saying to someone, I could never fit into their stuff. Their models are tall and thin. And the head tailor for all of Tom Brown was in there from Toronto. And he looked at me and goes, 80% of our pro athletes, it's all custom. And he starts showing me his lookbook. And I'm like, oh, good to know if I ever want a suit. And then a few months later, I needed a suit and decided to spend the money. Best decision I ever made. It was more expensive than anything I've ever bought for clothes, but amazing, amazing, amazing tailoring. So it's important. You can get something that looks great on a rack and you put it on, and if it doesn't fit the way you want, you're barely, if ever, going to wear it. And for pro athletes who are putting their trust in you, if they love something, it doesn't fit them right, I'm imagining that's a total lose. You lose.
Absolutely. A lot of this too, like I was a consumer for this before I owned a store, before I owned a boutique, before I sold to clients and athletes, right? I was a consumer. So, products will come in all the time that I love. It looks great on the rack, and then I put it on myself, and I don't like how it feels, and I don't like how it looks. And so I can kind of take my personal experience and my taste and kind of cater it to my clients. This kind of, go this way, like try this out. And like I said, just make recommendations based off my expertise and everything that I'm seeing with what we got going on.
Okay, then another question. When a trend that you see related to streetwear and fashion feels like it's slowly dying, do you make that, your feeling, do you communicate that feeling to the athletes that have trust in you? So in other words, if they're looking at something that is just, fly by night, going to be hot for one season maybe, do you just say, you can't, like, if you're going to build your wardrobe, these are the staples. Like, how do you get them thinking about longevity in pieces and not going after the shiny, brightest, newest thing?
Well, that's where we come into play, where, sourcing the best products at the best possible price for our clients, that's the name of our game. I have a styling fee or a sourcing fee for getting these, but the convenience factor for this, it's worth it for these guys. And having pieces that will hold equity in their wardrobe, or pieces that they can wear multiple times and they're still worth the money that they paid for, it goes a long way with these guys. But a lot of that is them trusting us and us having to explain and break down each piece to them and explain to them what it is and what you're buying. This is why it's worth this much.
I saw recently, I think it was Obi Toppin was wearing the Vanson ALD brown leather jacket. So you styled that?
Yes, me and Aiden. Aiden styled this as well.
Aiden Marshall. So he's from Boston too?
Yeah, Boston kid.
Yeah. We knew that. We're just doing it for the camera. Shout out Aiden.
Shout out to Aiden. Shout out to
that is an amazing jacket. Amazing jacket. Obi, you looked really good in it.
Yeah, Pacers were coming up to Boston, so it was only right that we got Obi styled in a piece right out of Fall River, Massachusetts. It doesn't get better than that. So it was Obi paying homage to the city of Boston, and Aiden and I, obviously two Boston kids. This was a really cool experience. So
all right, now we're going to talk about the future. Right now you're able to run your business effectively out of a warehouse, borrowing space from showrooms, and plotting your next move. So does Boston seem like the natural space to have a showroom? And if so, why? And then where have you been looking? What are you thinking? I've got to imagine it's just so much easier if you're in the city, closer to where athletes are playing or practicing. You've got the Celtics practice facility, the Bruins practice facility. The Patriots are over in Foxborough, but they're going to be moving So I think it's Bobcraft just signed a long-term lease over by where Foxwoods is. So, the proximity of pro athletes within and around like a 3-mile radius of Boston is where you have to be. I don't think anyone has a showroom quite like what yours used to be in Boston.
Yeah, so I think that this is something that would do phenomenally well in Boston. Even me being a consumer before I started the boutique, I would have to run around to multiple places in the city hoping to find something that I would like. So me bringing Revival to the city, it would be, me bringing my mind and my curation and the things that I like and the things that I want to see all together under one roof.
Mm-hmm.
The best vintage, the best designer, the bags that you can't find anywhere else, the pieces that you won't see online anywhere,
Mm-hmm.
and bring it all together under one roof
Mm-hmm.
in a place that not everybody can get to. It's not available to the public, and you have to make an appointment. You have to come shop privately. Keep it exclusive. Keep it catered to the customers who know what they're shopping for, who know what they're getting, and who appreciate quality.
So right now, is there anyone else in Boston doing this?
There's a couple people that are doing great. Obviously, Riccardi's been around.
Well, that's retail. You're reselling.
Yeah, so for resellers, Cam in the North End, he just opened up his spot recently. He's selling a ton of great chrome hearts. There's definitely some people locally that are making some great moves.
Mm-hmm. And you have relationships with all of them.
Yeah, we have good relationships with everybody.
So would you ever go to the North End?
No, I would try to stay away from that. I think that as Revival is continuing to grow and continuing to take steps in the right direction, we're quickly learning that we're not trapped into one place. So even if it's not directly in Boston, right, or directly in Seaport, we can be on the outskirts and we'll still be able to do what we do. I gained a lot of motivation starting the shop in Milford, Massachusetts, almost an hour away from the city. The people that we were able to get through those doors and the moves that we were able to make in that little space, it motivates me. And I know that we're able to do some great things wherever we end up.
Right.
Based off of the relationships that we have and the way that we run this business.
Okay, so I'm going to play devil's advocate. They say in commercial retail, location, location, location. Are you telling me it's not all location, location, location for your business because you can come to them? Or are you saying you definitely need to be closer to Boston, but if you don't get Boston, South End, North End, Back Bay, Cambridge, Somerville, Brighton, if you're not in that area, it's okay. You'll just have to hustle more?
I don't even think that we'll have to hustle more. Honestly, I feel like, being in a spot like Milford where we had people traveling 45 minutes and even me being a consumer to this before I was selling anything, I would travel and I still will. I will travel 2, 3, 4 hours to go somewhere that I want to go shop. So what I've learned is that if you get the right shit and you put it in one place and you advertise it right and you send it to the right people, get it in front of the right people will come. That's what we've learned along the way. And, even in the last 3 months since losing the showroom, I've learned that I don't need a single space to rely on. We're able to go on the move. We're able to do pop-ups. We're able to do house calls. We're able to sell online and in our marketplaces. So the next spot that Revival is at, that's just going to be home base. That's where we're going to, be able to have events and be able to kind of take it to the next step.
Uh-huh.
But I believe that wherever we end up, we'll be able to attract the right crowd.
If you're watching this segment, put your comments about should Mo be close to Boston or it doesn't matter. You can also watch the whole thing on YouTube. What do you want to be known for if in the next 5 years? So in other words, it's 2031, you're at your beach house in Newport after you've gone sailing for the day and going to the Newport Yacht Club to make martinis with all of your friends. Martinis.
Martinis.
We don't drink anymore, so yeah, we're not having virgin martinis. What do you want to be known for? Is it taste, access, impact? Because, I'd be lying if we don't need to run a business. Like, we're in business to be in business. But because you've gone through so much in such a short amount of time, imagine, 5 years from now, when you look back, what do you want to be known for? Because I can tell you since starting Super G, we've had 7 resellers and retailers that we worked with close. We've pulled our items from 3 resellers. We've gone through 4 or 5 staff, more. So when you're projecting out and you're achieving what you've envisioned, what are the things you want to be known for? Like, you can look back and say, Revival was this, this, and this. What's most important to you?
The most important thing across the board is customer service, and the way that we treat people, the way that we ran our ship, our relationships, the impact that we had on everyone's life, people that have worked with us, people that have been part of my team, and people in my life, and everything, everybody out to my clients and my customers that I'm able to help and able to make their life easier. That's the biggest thing.
So you're saying that the most important thing is customer satisfaction.
Customer satisfaction.
Customer satisfaction is number one. So that's with your clients. Now, I can say, because you're our best reselling partner, Mo, immediate payouts, tells you when things are going to be wired, Venmo'd, Zelle'd to you, looks at an item and says a button's missing, or do you want me to get this dry cleaned? Like, the attention to detail and the focus on having a seamless business-to-business relationship translates well to business-to-customer. And I can tell you, I've seen new athletes first work with Morgan, and then over time, he's recommending things, and they're just, it's Morgan's recommendation. They go with it. So it's really important, if you're watching this and you're trying to build your own business, you've got to not only build strong customer service methodologies, but you have to really listen to what your customer wants. Listen to their feedback, because you might have shoes you think are fire, you might have, garments that you think are amazing, but they have to be comfortable in it. It has to fit them properly. They have to vision themselves wearing it more than once, so multiple uses, and you have to kind of help build their wardrobe, but help build their respect in you as a advisor about fashion. I think I got an A for that. That's pretty fucking solid, right?
Spot on.
Pretty good. All right, we spent a lot of time chopping it up. As you can probably tell, Mo and I are friends. We've been friends for quite a while. I've seen the trajectory not only of his barber career, but of his career as an entrepreneur take off. And for someone that dealt with such a potentially catastrophic business event, the fire, and continue to work with pro athletes, build high net worth client relationships, communication with resellers, clients, going out and making things happen. I have never met anyone that has the drive, hustle, and really just the positive mindset that, Morgan does. And it's been not only great to work with him, but every time, I get down on myself, or I'm thinking about how do I improve what I'm doing, or why isn't this working, I'll talk to Morgan. I won't be asking him for advice, but I'll just be asking him questions, and I hear things that he says in his perspective, and it's changed over time. Like, he's evolved as a human being, but it's when you have the right people in your universe, like he's talking about being a, customer satisfaction. It's also the same way with your business relationships. Like, I'm really proud to work with you. I've seen the development of your business. I'm really excited to see what you bring to the table in the next 6 months as you plan where you're going to be for the fall. And I'm really excited to see what this, how this translates to people, seeing it on Revival's Instagram or YouTube channels, how it generates interests from other athletes, because you've got a good eye, you've got a ton of great relationships, you're working with other stylists already, you've got people like Aiden Marshall and people that are reaching out to you. Like, your inertia that you've built for your business is just going to get stronger and stronger. So, I want to thank you for coming down today. I know you're super busy. I know you've got, your son who gets off the bus at 2:00 from school. And I'm just really grateful that, we could do this, because I've been thinking about it for over a year.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you so much, John. I'm thankful for you and everything that we've been able to accomplish, man. It's been phenomenal. We were talking about the start of Revival, and like, in a lot of ways, a lot of it started here because I drew so much inspiration from Super G and just being able to do the things that nobody else does, right?
Mhm.
And if this shit was easy, like everybody would do it.
Right.
There's a lot of work, it's a lot of moving pieces, but the relationships and the way that my life has changed and the way that my son's life has changed, like that's a result from this and from having people like you in my life. So thank you, man. I appreciate you.
All right. Remember, if you're watching this, hopefully we'll cut this part and put it somewhere else. If you're watching this Partners and Plugs, make sure you drop comments. Make sure you forward the segments that you like to your friends to spread the word about Revival, because it's right now we're shooting, it's only February. Come fall, there's going to be a new location, a new strategy. There's a lot of energy behind this reseller, this business, this brand. We got to support the people that support us. Let's go.
All right, gents. Thank you so much, Mo, for joining us for the segment of Partners and Plugs. We are now going into our most popular segment, Hot or Not. We're going to ask a couple of hard-hitting questions. All you got to say is hot or not, and feel free to disagree. You can chime in with a follow-up comment about it, or you can just say hot or not and move on. Understood?
Yes.
All right. First question.
Am I hot or not? Yes.
Hot or not?
Next question.
Next question. Hot or not? Resale markup is getting out of hand.
Okay. I'd say hot. One thing that drives me crazy is this Chrome Hearts resale market, where watching some of these videos, and I'm not going to point fingers, there's no way there's that many billionaires buying $180,000 Chrome Hearts jeans. No way.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. I mean, yeah, you sell Chrome Hearts stuff.
A lot of it.
And to hype it up like that just drives me crazy, because I think it destroys the people who are resellers that actually are running a great business, sourcing Chrome Hearts. Like, I literally got this from my friend Keenan, who owns Courtside Kicks, who was in a Partners and Plugs. Fair price, used, love it. Know that I paid a good price, and it's going to keep me coming back.
It'll keep you coming back.
Yeah.
That's what it is. A lot of these resellers, they'll hit a client over the head one time and that client's not coming back, and you end up getting a bad rap over time for that. So I'd rather give people the best price possible.
Totally.
Hot or not? Are there too many resellers?
I don't think so, and I'll tell you why. In a competitive marketplace, any competitive marketplace where there's an opportunity, the ones that survive and thrive are the ones that really manage their business differently and are looking at all aspects of the foundation of their business to build longevity. I think there's a lot of people that think they're reselling, but all they're doing is really flipping. They're not building a brand. So I don't think there's too many resellers. I think it's indicative of any industry where you can get in because the barriers to entry are low. But I think the ones in the next, 12 months, 24 months are going to run their business like a business.
You have to be able to obtain longevity, right? Because otherwise these quick flips, you can only really hit people over the head so many times with deals where, you run yourself into a circle.
Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of resellers that are giving the business a bad name because and you see it all the time. I mean, historically, there have been people on eBay that were, huge sellers of sneakers that were just running shady businesses. And I can't remember the name of the reseller out in Vegas that had the huge run and that had the store in one of the casinos that, it's all over the internet about how shady his business was. So, I mean, you got to be reputable, but you also have to respect the whole of the industry. Like, if you're going to be a reseller that's going to grow and exist over time, you have to do it the right way.
Yeah, I agree. There's a right way, there's a wrong way to do things.
Yeah.
League fashion runways, hot or not, are they getting out of hand?
As in like NBA and like NFL, like tunnel fits? No, I love it. But I think that it brings another layer of personality to the players, to these athletes, because people, a lot of these guys, they wouldn't have the name that they have for themselves if it wasn't for fashion, if it wasn't for what they put on and people looking to them as, inspiration, or kids looking up to them and saying, I want to play like this guy, or I want to dress like this guy. That's how it started for me. I saw the way other people wore their sneakers and I wanted mine to look like that, or the way that this rapper did that, and I liked how that looked. And that's where inspiration comes from. And these athletes, they're high profile individuals and they have a lot of people that are looking up to them. So I think it's a great way for them to spread not only awareness of fashion in itself, but awareness of new emerging brands. And it's an opportunity for new stylists and new designers to come up and show what they can bring to the table.
I've actually been pitching some private equity guys about expanding the whole tunnel fits to speed skating, golf, curling, NASCAR, and then shuffleboard. So you think about, all the different demographics that you could kind of replicate this. I mean, it could be crazy.
WWE?
WWE. Yeah, I mean, why doesn't The Undertaker have a Hermes Hack 50 in Crocodile?
Yeah, Chrome Hearts rings.
Just saying. Nancy Pelosi, if you need some Chrome Hearts, call him.
You know where to go, Nancy.
Yep.
Streetwear luxury collabs, hot or not?
Streetwear luxury collabs.
If done correctly, I'm all day hot on it. But
when done correctly, I feel like they peaked in a lot of ways. Supreme and Louis Vuitton, for instance, they did some amazing things, and I think that after that, it's been hard for me to get as excited about it. But I will say, Supreme's been doing some amazing things. Supreme did some really cool collabs this year, and there's been some interesting things that have come about along the way. But
there's a rumor going around that there's going to be a Gucci collab with a streetwear brand for next fall. I've heard 4 different people talk about it, so I'm very curious to see if Demna decides to go with this brand, which I think would be really interesting. I can't say on screen because I don't want to give it away, but I can tell you afterwards.
Okay. I won't tell anyone.
I'll hand signal you from the car so we won't actually speak it.
Definitely sign language.
Yeah, sign language.
Perfect.
Brands are doing too many drops, hot or not?
I think so. But I think it's a lot of more so the new and upcoming brands, and more so like on the streetwear side of things that are trying to compete with brands like Supreme when they drop every week, and they're trying to push it like that, which is cool, but I feel like it has to be the right pieces, and if you do too much of the wrong thing, it does no justice for you. So
yeah, it almost slows you down. I mean, I can remember 2 years ago in the spring, summer, it felt like every week when Supreme was releasing, you were just watching the train slowly crawl into the station for the close of summer. I don't know if people really take the time to think about how long it takes to build just a collection. But then if you're doing things like a scarcity model with Palace and Supreme, how people who are aficionados of the brand, they don't start looking at every single week and being like, I've seen that before. It looks like this. It looks like this. Then they're not looking at anything, because a lot of times there can be 2 or 3 items in a drop that are amazing. And if you have fatigue about thinking that the whole collection or the last few weeks are like lame or just, not interesting, you miss things.
I agree. Look at a brand that me and you both love, Satoshi, right? Satoshi Nakamoto has been doing amazing, and they drop pretty frequently, but not enough where it's oversaturated. And everything that they come out with, all of their new stuff, I'm always looking forward to it. I can't wait to see what they do next. They have new stuff that's coming out for their fall-winter drop this year.
Yeah,
I can't wait for it to drop. They're building the demand for it. They're building the exclusivity behind it, and it's definitely caught my eye.
Yeah, and they're doing another Vans that's coming out, like their 3rd iteration of Vans, and it's a little bit different than their last 2, which is interesting because that whole bedazzled or bejeweled thing, now Pharrell and LV they had shown at their last fashion show, they had hoodies and jackets that had that kind of like Satoshi jewel effect. Of course, they're like 50 times more expensive, but I was kind of like, wonder where he got that inspiration from.
I think a lot of that inspiration too probably drew from Capital. We see Capital with the gem sets and the studs, and LVMH just bought out some of Capital.
Yep.
So
They took a majority ownership stake. Yeah.
yeah, and the capital is just drawn from old Western Americana inspiration too, which is just it comes full circle. Fashion rotates, so.
If anyone watching knows where you can get proper sized capital size 5, DM me. I'm going to Japan in 2 months to try to hunt for my own, but built for a smaller man.
So follow up on that. Are too many luxury brands trying to get into the streetwear game?
I wouldn't say so. I wouldn't say so. I think that brands will maybe dip into the streetwear scene to try to attract a new lane, and try to target a new audience, or a new demographic. But I still see them being two separate entities in my eye, at least. I think that high fashion and luxury brands are always going to be there, and streetwear will always have its own course. But there's also some extreme trends that you'll see in streetwear and some extreme trends that you'll see in the luxury side that I don't think that we'll see clash, because they just don't meet that close together.
I agree with what Morgan's saying. I also think that some of the bigger fashion houses have tried to imbue their collections with more street pieces, and I think what's happened is the loyalists of those brands, it's upsetting to them, so they really have to walk a fine line. Like, I think you're going to see less streetwear influenced clothing in certain major luxury brands for the next calendar year or year and a half, to see if they can focus on their core markets that are potentially or believed to be higher net worth. So they might not sell as many items, but they're selling at a higher margin, because these are publicly traded companies. So I know it's a long-winded example, but you look at Jonathan Anderson and now what he's doing with Dior and the sneakers that they're releasing that are $1,500-$1,600 that sold out instantly. Like, they're getting really intentional about less inventory, higher price points, and trying to stay away from having too much of their product mix be obviously streetwear influenced. And I think the one place that brands like, let's say, Louis Vuitton can get away with it are sneakers. Like, they just did those tilted sneakers, which I just tried some on the other day. Amazing, like, great design. And they have just enough of they're imbued with enough streetwear influence, but they won't alienate the core brand, the core purchasers, the core people that have bought LV forever. It's like a fine line, because a couple of years ago, you'd see full-on fashion shows, and you're like, it feels like just streetwear is everywhere in this.
Something that I think, on the contrary to designer or luxury brands mixing with streetwear, is luxury brands that are pulling inspiration from vintage pieces. Look at ERD with like the harness jackets and their buckle denim pieces that, or even Chrome Hearts, using their jeans. They're using vintage Levi jeans.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a pair of vintage 501 jeans. But that silhouette, that model, that material, it's something that it's a desired feel. I like that vintage stuff. It feels nostalgic. It feels very worn in, and you feel very comfortable wearing it. So these designers are trying to mock that feeling. When you get an ERD t-shirt, it's all fucked up and ripped, and it feels worn in and it feels lived in, because that's what it's intended to feel like. But these luxury houses are just pulling inspiration from moth-bitten t-shirts and old vintage Levi jeans. Like, fashion comes around full circle.
That'd be a good hot or not.
Yeah.
Vintage.
With brands like Champion or Carhartt, how do we feel about them getting into the more luxury price points?
So are they collabs, or are they just coming to...
Solo. Like, now Carhartts are, before you see like a $50 workwear brand, and now you can't find a Carhartt hoodie for less than $100.
Yeah, I would say not. I mean, like, if I'm going to buy a beater hoodie or something I can go out and do work in or not worry about, like, throw it in my car, if I spill something on it, I don't want to spend $80, $100 on it, I'll wear something that I've had for 5 years that's already stained. Like, I'm not going to spend that much money. I would rather, like, the Japanorak, which people saw how long it took to get it and what a journey it was. I'd rather just wear this 50 times till it's destroyed and not go and spend $100 on a Carhartt or Champion hoodie, or, try to, dumpster dive at a Goodwill and pull a couple double XLs out.
So I will disagree. I'm gonna say hot because
Wait, you're going to say hot?
I'm gonna say hot because
Ah.
these, in a lot of ways, these fashion houses like ERD, even Louis Vuitton with their workwear, they're pulling inspiration from the, Carhartt Detroit jacket or a pair of vintage Levi's. So in the vintage world, these are hot pieces. People are paying really good money for these Carhartt Detroit jackets, and these designer brands like ERD are charging $3,000,
I wouldn't even
$4,000.
know what a Carhartt Detroit jacket looks like.
It looks just like an ERD jacket, except it doesn't say ERD on it. So in the vintage world, that jacket will sell for a couple $100s, but it looks the same. It has the same silhouette. It has that vintage, worn-in, thrashed feel, which is the same as ERD. So it has a lot of the same properties and a lot of the same values as this jacket, but at a fraction of the price point.
Yeah, but do these Carhartt or Champion, what type of jackets did you say?
So the question I guess was Tony was asking was these brands, these workwear brands that are collabing with luxury houses, like Champion did a collab with Todd Snyder, or has done multiple.
Even without the collabs.
Yeah, Carhartt and
He's just
Carhartt.
saying on standalone.
Standalone, they're always going to be there. There's always going to be a need for cheaper workwear and stuff. But I was kind of more referring to how, an older, it's $150 jacket. It was probably even less in the 1990s, but a jacket from the 90s, it's the same jacket, but this one is now skyrocketed in value because of this aesthetic that people are chasing and this style. Even players like Stephon Diggs on the Patriots, like he's wearing vintage Carhartt and vintage Levi's.
Mhm.
He just mix matches it with a chrome belt and some ERD stuff, and there you go. But that's all how you put it on.
For the average person, is it worth it buying a really expensive piece and wearing it constantly? Hot or not?
I think not. I think for an average person, it's better to have more bang for your buck, and more versatility and being able to have
Totally agree.
certain outfits for certain things, things that I want to wear Tuesday, I'm not going to wear Thursday night, and vice versa. I think it's just better to have a little bit of versatility than having one big statement piece. It's like putting all your coins or all your eggs into one basket, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I mean, and that's the dilemma, right? You see something that you absolutely love that you think you're going to wear a lot, and then if you end up, spending a couple $1,000 or $1,500 or $1,000 on one item, and you wear it 3 times in a year, and you could have got 5 or 6 items, you're just kicking yourself the whole time. You're like, it's not cold enough, or I can't wear that with this, or I wore it a month ago and half the people at this event were at the other event. So, and the worst thing, in my opinion, is when you get known for wearing the same item multiple times. Like it's just the same thing, and you wear it like 5, 6, 7, 8 times.
That's why it's good to have somebody in your corner, like a good stylist or somebody who's reputable who can.
You need to revive.
Who needs to be revived. You can make recommendations and tell you, go this way, don't go that way. That's not going to be worth shit after you wear it. Or you can wear that and then you might be able to sell it for more after. There's
True.
definitely a lot to be said for having knowledge and
I think what you're saying is you want to make sure that each outfit makes you feel super glorious.
Yeah, or that you're revived to the fullest extent.
You're revived super gloriously.
Tony's back there like these fucking idiots.
Final hot or not question. Boston should always be in the conversation when it comes to streetwear.
Oh, that's a hard one. I feel like you and I know most of the players in Boston in the streetwear fashion community, and I can only compare it to like New York, that I know a lot of people there, and in some ways Miami. Okay, I'll say this. I think it's hard to say hot or not for me because the geography of certain communities and what's there for fashion, the people that live there, make it hot or not. So like Miami, I love Miami. Great stores, great culture, great restaurants. And I would say Miami's, fashion community is just off the charts compared to Boston. But what I will say is because in Boston, it's a smaller community and there's only a few big players for retail. The community itself, like the people like you and I, we know everyone. So it makes the community that much stronger.
I agree. I agree. And I feel like a lot of it too, as Boston, the fashion scene in Boston grows, people are starting to begin to kind of step out of their comfort zone a bit and kind of to being able to start embracing being different. Even still, I'll
100%.
I'll go to Boston, and don't get me wrong, I see a lot of the people that you guys all look the exact same. Because they're all wearing the same thing and the same style. But it's been growing, it's been on the rise, and I think it's a great thing to see that people are kind of, like I said, embracing being different and wearing different things and trying new things.
Yeah, people are taking the chance of expressing themselves more with, a wider variety of clothes that you normally wouldn't see in Boston. I'm going to be 60 in March, and 30 years ago, you'd walk up and down Newbury and maybe see 5 people in designer brands, because one, they could afford it, and two, they weren't from the area, so they weren't wearing LL Bean and traditional brands like Levi's and Timberland. Now, people from Boston, the exposure to so many different brands, and they're willing to take more risks.
Yeah, and nowadays too with social media, you know, leaving an impression is everything, and people want to put out there what they got going on. People want to be seen, and people want to present themselves out there. So I think it's really important that people have started to kind of.
Did I mention this is a Japan rack from Ralph Lauren and Beams?
Polo Ralph Lauren?
This is a double XL too. It was a hustle and a half to get.
Holy shit!
Oh wait, we're still videotaping.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we're. Oh god.
Dude, my brain was blown.
Wait, what?
This will be a more open-ended answer.
Okay.
Question. What would it take? So obviously the answer is not. Because you guys did the same.
Okay. Yes, not. These lights are hot as hell.
What does Boston have to do to kind of be in the constant conversation of streetwear as opposed to New York and the Miami and the LAs of the world? What needs to happen? More bigger streetwear brands having brick and mortar, more activation, more celebrity athletes wearing stuff. What needs to happen?
More people coming together for one purpose. More people coming together to spread ideas out and to make inspiration. That's where it's drawn from. If you look at other cities, there's a togetherness of it. And I feel like Boston has yet to kind of, it's getting there, but the whole scene in Boston needs to grow for fashion. There isn't enough light on it. So I think that the only way to obtain that is to have togetherness and for people to come together and start collaborating and start bringing their minds together and working on projects together instead of competing against each other, because there's money out there for everybody to make.
Because Boston, the unified streetwear brand, New York has Supreme, Palaces, London, right?
Yeah.
Miami, Stone Island is Canada.
No, Stone Island's Italy.
Italy.
Yeah, Roots is Canada. So, all right, 2 answers. One, I think Boston needs more activations. There needs more activations that are really well thought out, that bring people together, like Mo Morgan, Ace Morgan Mo alluded to say, but I know what he was saying. Because once the weather gets better, because it's been freezing here, I think those activations bring people out from the community, and people that are smaller brand owners, you start to see what they're doing, like Brainchild, which Doug, shout out to Doug, he has a pop-up next week. But, they're running these out of their houses, and they're small brands, but they have beautiful garments that are really well thought out. There's another one called Profit Envoy. Guy just went to Babson, doing really well. Or Archive, they're from here. But I think there has to be energy behind it by having these more grassroots organic activations, because that's the way people become aware of the brand and there's energy behind it. You look throughout history at how streetwear exploded, just from the onset of like Stussy, and there's a million other brands like from that. You can talk about like Jimmy Z and Triple X and 555 Soul and, all the like OGs. It was events. Like they just have to be well thought out, and activations take time. Like Hidden just did a thing with UGG. Great activation at Extra Butter. Amazing choice for a retail space to do it. Super limited. I tried to, get a pair, didn't get them. But I think that energy, because I think if Boston becomes known for a Boston brand or like the activation capital of the United States, we're already on the map. But then it's to like turn the volume up to 11, like in Spinal Tap.
That's it.
That's one man's long-winded opinion.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. That concludes Hot or Not.